Christians were being brutally tortured. The Turkish army was on the verge of invasion at the Battle of Lepanto. Pope Pius V and Don Juan of Austria were struggling against a threat that could wipe out Christian Europe. Only a miracle of Our Lady could make the Moors flee in fear. And a miracle is just what Our Lady provided. Howdy, my name is 𝗱𝗲𝗂𝘀𝗴𝗃 and welcome to America Needs Fatima. Before we get going, make sure to hit subscribe and click the notification bell so that way you never miss out on another story of Mary. Okay, on to today's miraculous story. The stakes were high at the Battle of Lepanto in the year 1571. Not only were anti-Catholic wars and revolts happening in France, in Spain, the Netherlands, and England, but the Moors were becoming increasingly aggressive throughout Europe and the Mediterranean. I would parallel the battle to society's fight against the church today. All of this disruption was happening when Pius V became Pope. But he quickly saw the solution. The Ottoman power could only be broken through a crusade. To begin, Pope St. Pius V set up rosary rallies before the Moorish invasion. He asked for sacrifice and prayers from Catholics, especially the Holy Rosary. So much so that he was called the Pope of the Rosary. While Pius V was setting up the Holy League, the Moors were already in Spain savagely torturing Christians, humble village priests, and altar boys before the battle. If they called on Jesus and Our Lady for strength, they had their tongues cut out. Or, if they were lucky, their mouths were ignited with gunpowder. These descendants of the invaders, who had nearly destroyed Christian Spain during an occupation lasting 8 centuries long. They again drenched the country in Spanish Catholic blood. To right this wrong, an indomitable leader was needed. It so happened that while Pope Pius V was reading the Gospel of John while celebrating Mass, he realized the commander and leader of the Holy League was to be none other than Don Juan of Austria. You know, we actually talked about this exact story in an old issue of Crusade magazine all the way back in February of 1998. Yes, we have been printing our Catholic magazine for quite a long time. In fact, that's a month before I was born. Yes, we have been printing our Catholic magazine for quite a long time. And if you have been a child of Mary for a while, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you didn't know, we print a beautiful, full-color, fully Catholic magazine. It's full of news articles of Catholic wisdom from the saints and hundreds of stories, just like this one. Each of our Child of Mary members gets a subscription to Crusade magazine as one of their gifts when they join. So, if you'd like to have a gorgeous and inspiring Catholic magazine delivered to your door, well, take a look at the link in the description box below, or you can go ahead and click right here. Okay, back to our story. Remember, Pope Pius V had just realized that the supreme commander of the Holy League should be none other than Don Juan of Austria. Later during the battle preparations, not one of the 81,000 Christian soldiers and sailors failed to confess their sins and receive Holy Communion. I'm inspired by how they entrusted the battle to God's grace rather than man's strength. And during the battle, the Christian galleys were outnumbered 274 to 208. Just before contact was made, the wind favoring the Moors shifted from the east to the opposite direction. The Christians drew first blood when their huge, though unwieldy galleys fired many rounds of cannon shot with devastating effect. But because of their lack of maneuverability, the floating batteries quickly passed out of action. The center of both lines bore down heavily on each other without any thought of trickery. The Moors were yelling, screaming, and banging anything that would make noise, but the Christians were in ominous silence. Weapons in one hand, rosaries in the other. Finally, Don Juan, a massive broadsword in one hand and an axe in the other, led an attack across the Sultana that ended in the death of 𝗚𝗏𝗄𝗃, the Turkish commander. From that point on, the spirit and fighting capacity of the Moors quickly declined. Then suddenly, the Moors reported seeing a lady dressed as a queen in the sky, gazing at them with such a terrifying look that they lost courage and fled. It was Our Lady, coming to the aid of the Christian fleet. A miracle. I can't help but compare Lepanto to our fight as Catholics today. But there are a few significant differences. The biggest difference is that the enemies of Christians today are much greater than those at Lepanto. They're everywhere, inside all fields of society, even the church herself. And our forces are much smaller. Another difference is the heroes of Lepanto were supported by Catholics everywhere, who prayed for their success. But today, we sadly face opposition both outside the church and inside the church. So, it takes more courage to fight today than it ever did back then. But Lepanto has a valuable lesson for today. Confide in Our Lady more than ever. She will turn your present chaos into the triumph of her Immaculate Heart that was promised at Fatima. Catholic thinker Professor Plinio Correa de Oliveira once said that the most extraordinary heroism of those fighting at Lepanto was not fighting the Moors, but believing that the battle would be won by Our Lady when everything seemed lost. So, when you are discouraged by the intensity of the fight around you, think of Lepanto. Believe in our modern Lepanto, a battle 1,000,000 times more desperate, which with Our Lady's help only increases our certainty of victory. Now, about the Child of Mary program that I mentioned earlier in the video. Years ago, we at America Needs Fatima had an idea. We wanted to create a devotional group that had one mission: to spread the message of Fatima as far and wide as possible, and in doing so, enrich the spiritual lives of its members as much as possible. Out of that idea was born our special Child of Mary group. It was important to us that a Child of Mary member was able to donate as much or as little as they wanted, so that as many people as possible could experience the incredible graces that Our Lady gives to those that spread her Fatima message and spread devotion to her Immaculate Heart. America Needs Fatima is a non-profit organization, so every Child of Mary donation not only helps us to supply your membership gifts, but also helps. America Needs Fatima is a non-profit organization, so every Child of Mary donation not only helps us supply your membership gifts, but it also helps us to fund this entire YouTube operation. And speaking of those Child of Mary gifts, each Child of Mary receives a free subscription to Crusade magazine, an elegant pin featuring an image of our Blessed Mother, and my personal favorite, a Catholic Mass prayed in your name every single day. Like I said, we're trying our best to bring as many heavenly graces as possible to our Child of Mary members. So, if you would like to join us, well, make sure you click the link in the description down below, or you can wait a couple minutes and I'll place a link on the screen. Thank you in advance. And that's our video. Our Lady of the Rosary, pray for us. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.
Every new Child of Mary member gets a subscription to Crusade magazine as one of their gifts when they join. Become a Child of Mary today by clicking right here on your screen. As soon as you join, we will start sending this beautiful and spiritual Catholic magazine straight to your front door. Thank you, and may God bless you.